Deepti Naval. We've known her as an artist par excellence on celluloid, with her large, dewy eyes that spoke volumes, her beautiful smile and classy roles that she chose to play, enthralling us over the years. The painter in her has moved us with her nuanced sensitivity, as also her passion for photography. We are here to savor Deepti Naval's journey as a poet and share her reflections. In conversation with her is Shantanu Chaudhuri, an editor and film buff who's worked with some of India's best known authors. This is going to be a very beautiful, reflective start to the day. Please welcome.
Hi everyone. Good to see so many people here first thing in the morning. Thank you. I've been nursing a bad throat, so you have to forgive me for constantly need to clear my throat a bit. Just recovered from a bad bout of viral fever.
Thank you, and thank you, Shiny, and thank you, Bengaluru Poetry. I keep saying Bangalore, I can't get the other words like Mumbai and also. Thank you all for having me. It's a wonderful the prospect of talking to Deepti here, and I hope you'll enjoy. She'll do all the talking. I'm just here to sort of, despite her bad throat.
I was hoping you would today get you to read a few things.
We'll start off without much ado about any more delays. I had come across Deepti's poems much earlier, and it's only recently after her memoir came out, which is which is 368 pages of, very poetic writing. It's sort of only a poet could sort of give that kind of a cadence to life. And of course she says poetry is the only autobiography I'll ever write. So that's where she's coming from. Deepti, one of the things that couple of strands that we'll cover over this conversation with you reading some of these poems. One of the things that struck me very strongly here is what Gulzar Saab says, अगर सिर्फ नज़में पढ़कर कोई शायर की शख्सियत जानने की कोशिश करे तो लगेगा ये शायरा बहुत उदास रहती हैं, पर हमेशा यही महसूस किया है कि एक दीप्ति अपने अंदर की दूसरी दीप्ति को खुद से अलग करके देख रही है. So how is that, do you sort of, there's a lot of melancholy in your poems. Is that the person, or is that a certain expression of your experiences?
I think as a person I'm not, well, I think one tends to take the pen to paper when there's a certain melancholy that one is feeling, there is a sense of, I don't remember writing very many happy poems, which is right when Gulzar Sahab says कि आगे उन्होंने ये भी कहा है कि वैसे दीप्ति की शख्सियत ऐसी नहीं है. She loves life and lives it fully, even the joyous moments, as much as she lives the darker side. But yeah, there must be a certain melancholia. I've never really tried to analyze that.
I think,
but I think I write when there is a need to, express yourself one way or another. So
I think a happy poem is a contradiction in terms, also an oxymoron. You can.
Yeah, yeah. I do have a poem in Black Wind called Peacock Crossing, and I think it's a happy poem.
So, you know, one of the things that also strikes me as I read is the felicity you bring to both languages. You write in Hindustani, Urdu, using a very good smattering of very colloquial Punjabi, and at the same time English. But there's a very, very there's a strong difference between what you bring to your poems in Hindustani, Urdu, and the ones in English. Is that, you know, for example, the poems in Hindi are much more, you know, are softer for word of. There's a romantic exploration of nature and, you know, emotions. And even when you're talking of loneliness, there is something in the Hindi poems that are softer than when you're talking about them in the English ones, in Black Wind, for example.
Yeah.
Is that?
I think it's because Lamha Lamha was written in 1981, and you know, one was just starting out in life. Life was all up ahead. You hadn't really lived that much. You know, you had more, you know, your ideas about what life is going to be. So it is from that phase. So there is romance. There is love is in the air, and that kind of that phase that I was going through. So the poetry also happened to be gentler, more romantic, you know, which later gets replaced by real life experiences, and they don't turn out to be the way you had thought that it would turn out. So I guess, you know, it was easier to write in Hindustani, which is Urduized Hindi, when you are more dreamy, more romantic about everything. But when the harsher realities hit you, which was a later phase, you know, personal life, professional, whatever, you know, when the traumas begin, that's when I needed to revert back to English, like as a, you know, as a crutch, because I thought that if I write in Urdu, I'm going to sound so heavy duty. I want to say so many things which are harsh. I want to express them, but they are going to sound so loaded and not nice. I just wanted to say it and get away with it. So I chose to revert back to writing in English, which I was doing when I was in school and college in New York. But of course, Lamha Lamha, the first writings started when I was in New York, because at that time I felt English to sabhi bolte hain, so hamari to apni zaban hai, Hindustani, so I'm going to write in Hindi Urdu. So that happened then. It started, of course, the book finished 2-3 years later, a few years later, I guess, when I came here. Sound overtly dramatic, because I knew that the content was kind of denser. Denser. So I took to back, and I think since then one just has said, okay, let me say things the way they first happen in the head. So let it be in English. I don't have to look for nice Urdu words to express what is happening in my head. So let me write it the way, like firsthand, the way it happens. So that's why it just, you know.
So just before we go into the more dramatic and some of the most some of the poems that really cut very deep, just to give the audience here a flavor of your Hindi writing, if you could, there's this lovely poem called Ek Geet Jiski Dhun Yaad Nahi. If you could just read that, because that provides a contrast to what we're going to talk about later.
But there are nicer, more romantic poems.
I always love the idea of, absolutely, please, I had flagged that up also.
I will actually read a romantic poem, you know, which is like, सफेद कागज पे पानी से तुम्हारे नाम एक नज्म लिखी है मैंने. सफेद कागज पे पानी से तुम्हारे नाम एक नज्म लिखी है मैंने. तिलिस्मी रातों पर जब चांद का पहरा होगा, तमाम उम्र सिमट कर जब एक लम्हे में ढल जाएगी, कासनी अंधेरों के तले, जब कांच के धागों की तरह पानी की रुपहली सतह पर खामोशी थिरकती होगी, मैं झील के उस किनारे पर और झील के उस किनारे पर मचलेंगी चांद की 16 परछाइयाँ। मैं इस पार बैठकर सुनाऊंगी तुम्हें सफ़ेद कागज़ पे पानी से तुम्हारे नाम जो नज़्म लिखी है मैंने। Thank you.
Even before Gulzar ji's 116 चांद की रातें, there are 16 चांद की परछाइयाँ here.
Yeah. Yes.
So, sort of jump cutting from this to what I really wanted to talk about, Silent Scream. You know,
Yeah.
a certain phase that's molded you and sort of made you what you are. But before we get there, I think the origins of Silent Scream also lay in your school life with Neeta Devi Chand. If you, because I think, yeah.
Yeah, my inclination to know more about that world, you know, where the mind flips over to the other side and people call it mad, you know, that she's lost it or she's, you know, off her rocker or, you know, where society labels you, you know, mad. So, yeah, that I think the origins do come from my school life because a friend slipped over to the other side and I saw that happen in front of me. So, yeah, somewhere there, the curiosity to know more definitely was kind of, you know, from
And
back then.
At that age, it must have been pretty.
Yeah, but I wasn't aware. It was not like I knew, oh, I'm going to find out more. I need to get to the bottom of this. I know. It just remained there, I think. But of course, when I joined college in New York, it just came to me naturally that I would study abnormal psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, in my childhood memoir, a country called Childhood, I've written about. It's a very small little passage about from my mother's life in Burma during the Second World War, when the Indians fled Burma and came to India over the Assam hills. She always did describe a cousin of hers, a 13-year-old boy who was kept with the Japanese when the Japanese invaded Burma, and how he was there, this boy was there as a translator for the Japanese, because he spoke Japanese and he spoke Burmese. So he was there as a translator in the torture camps. And he lost his mind at the end of it. And that story always intrigued me. Always. I remember, you know, that it was one of the stories I always wanted to know more about. I wish he did come to India along with everybody else, but he suffered all his life.
Yeah.
All his life. He
And
could
also,
never be
you know,
normal.
like in that memoir, you also have this fascinating little passage about your own imaginary world, you know, sort of which goes into all of this area also, you know, like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
so,
yes, it does. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You can see the connect. Yeah. So those things have been planted early, and then of course I studied, but it was cinema that took me really deep into the world of the mentally disturbed. In Black Wind, one second. This is the book. It's called Black Wind and Other Poems. And there is a section here in the end, which is about 24 poems, which are all about the women in the mental asylum.
So you'd gone there for researching
women
your role?
I came to know. Yeah, I was studying actually. I went to study for a role. Has anybody seen a film called Unkahi, where she hallucinates and So few people have. Yeah, good. So you know when she hallucinates and she feels these shadows are around her and how she tries to get away from them. I had to play that role, and I told Amol Palekar, I said, how can I play? Though I had some few references, but I wanted to go deeper because here I was playing a character. I had to be the character. So I told him, I said, I have to go to a women's ward in the mental institution and just do some homework. I just go there and observe women and see how they behave, how they come across. And he said, no, don't do any such thing. Don't have any fixed ideas as to how this has to be played. Just in each one of us, there is an area. It's deep down there, dark, dense. It is there. We never tap it. And thankfully, we don't need to, But it is there. If you allow yourself to tap that, it will come out from within you. And but I was shooting for Hippipure, for Prakash's film in Ranchi, and Ranchi had the biggest mental asylum too. RMA and CIP Ranchi. One was for the Britishers and the other was for Indians. And I just couldn't stop myself. I wanted to go and see both. When I went there, I was very zapped for the first for the first 3 hours that I spent there, and I came back and I said, "Oh my God, it feels like I've taken a great beating or something." Later, I thought, if one visit can do this to a person, what if I was there? What about the women who were there? What does it do? What would it do to me if I was to play the whole role where I'm to play a mentally disturbed woman? What would it do to me? So I started writing a script. I thought of writing a script. It's called Split. It's about an actress who goes to perform a role. She goes into the asylum to study, and how she gets impacted, how she gets affected by what she sees. So for that, I went back to Ranchi. I went in for about 3 days, but I ended up staying 23 days in the women's ward, right? Of course, I didn't sleep there in the ward with the inmates. I slept in the staff room, which is right around the corner. And that's how I wrote the script. So a lot of the material came into the script called Split. But there were so many images that were floating around which I had not been able to use or express them through my screenplay. So they became these poems.
Lovely, just a very eloquent bit that somebody told you about Bhavuk Hoega. Would you like to
Bhavuk hoyega, tabhi to pagal hoyega na. Yeah, this woman, there were many women, let me tell you honestly, there were many women who were not really clinically mad. They were pretty okay. They were like us, everything was fine. But once left inside, nobody would come to take them back home. I saw things like that which were very, very, very disturbing. And this one girl who was perfectly sane. She was so alert, she was so sharp. She always had this, she was kind of gunning for me. She hated my presence there. The first time when she saw me, and some doctor must have told her, वो दीप्ति जी हैं और वो अपना कुछ स्क्रिप्ट पे रोल पे काम करने आई हैं. तो she comes and tells me, क्या देखने आए हैं? चिड़ियाघर है क्या? तो I was taken aback. I thought I'm most unobtrusively I'm going about, doing just sort of playing under low. But she said that, how dare you? We are not, ye tamasha nahi yahan ho raha hai. They are real people. And of course, she didn't have to tell me. But she just thought कि बाहर से आ गए हैं, observe करेंगे, तमाशा है, मतलब हमें देखेंगे, क्या मतलब इसका? So she said, and then she became friends with me. But at times she would just flip around and say the nastiest of things, which I didn't know how to comprehend and how to put them, how to express them through my work that I was doing on the script or otherwise, my poems. I put that across in one poem called Stench of Sanity. She kind of accused me of being normal or sane. And she said, what is all this? What is all this sanity? You will never really touch the real. So I want to read that
please
poem.
do. This is the stench of...
It is from this inmate addressed to me, or let's say to us, the sane world. This I wrote from her point of view. There is something rotten inside of you, in your flesh, the stench of sanity. It breathes in your eyes, this thing. Something decadent in your flesh, decaying. It will be too late. You will die of it. This thing that sleeps with you night after night like an aging, wanton woman, spent but not quite spent. And she waits for you to dump her in some dark street corner, yet she follows you, drunken whore. There's no getting away for you. You will die of it, this thing that breathes inside of you, in your flesh, the stench of sanity.
There is this other woman you mentioned, and who forms another brilliant work here, Media.
Medea.
Media. So would you like to talk, and then you could probably
Yes.
recite this poem, talk about what was it like, like
Yeah,
this
there was
thing
one.
about forgetting, wanting to forget, or
Yes, there was one ward which was furthest away from every other section of the hospital, and because the very severe, unredeemable cases, I think, were supposed to be kept there, and I said, yeah, I would like to go there also. So I was taken there, and then the doctor just wandered off somewhere. I was just left there standing, and I'm just thinking, there's hardly anybody here. There are no inmates here, so I guess people can be helped and they can be in a position to go back to their lives. So yahan to koi hai nahi. But then, one woman came out of somewhere and she kind of pounced on me. And she started to show me how, she did a gesture of hacking, like cutting the neck or the... I was really jolted back. I thought, what is she doing, And then I quickly realized that she is reliving for me what she had done. And then, of course, when the doctor came back, he said, she lost it. She killed her husband, she killed her children. And that reminded me of the Greek classic piece of literature called Medea. And I call this poem Medea, and I've written about this woman. I would like to read this. She's 80, perhaps 100, ancient, they say. At the far end of Moorgagny ward, where brilliant sunlight splits the veranda into two, she sits on a bench in unnerving calm, holding a stick, looking inward. Horror simmers just below the surface. The tragic act moves beyond caricature. Limping on a stick, she bolts towards you in feverish intensity, holding you there, confronting you, all eyes, nerves, body, in a single frenzied gesture. Hacking the neck, cutting the raw nerve, splitting the body into two. One fatal blow after another, the man first, then her babies. That's how she'd done it. Violent and frenzied, the thin blue metallic hand flashes nervously across the gaunt, shaven head, her stark eyes glistening. Bewildered at her own act, the old wrinkled face crumbles. Astounded, you stare. Don't dare move. In her triumph, she's all child, all Satan, wretched mother, truly midair, creator, destroyer, glowing in her pain. Over and over, she mimes the brutal act till they drive her away and drag her back to the far end of Murgagni ward. The stick clacks, drops to the floor. A blue metallic hand lies trembling on her feeble thigh. Brought in at 20, 60 years in the bin, where brilliant sunlight splits the veranda into two, she sits tied to the bench in unnerving calm, holding a stick, looking inward. Hounded by the one dark memory, she lives to forget. Thank you.
Did you sort of talk to her? Like,
I could not.
You could
she
not.
she didn't make any conversation with anybody, I was told.
Okay.
Yeah, I just felt that she's here. She's obviously, they said she's gone mad, that's why she could do an act like that. So she's been brought in here and she's left here for life. And now her punishment really is that she can not forget that she relives that incident every moment of her life. It was a big revelation. I mean, even in the karmic, the first original draft had the word karma in it. And then a friend of mine, she said, don't use the word karma, let me see. In the, when she lives to kind of undo her karma, it was something like that. Something like that I'd intended to say, like how you want to wash out the wrongs or whatever, the evil that has happened, that you have committed. And so the karmic thing comes in, So, but I'm glad I didn't use that word. Creates a lot of controversy.
Somehow, there are other poems here, and yesterday evening we were talking about, here stand in line. That's another very sort of disturbing imagery that you described, and then out of that came the poem. So if you if you could talk about
the
that.
women. Yeah, in the night, because I was around the ward, I would just be sitting around the railing in the dark, just observing everything. My job was really to observe, just to make my notes, observe, write, and keep looking, keep walking around, talk to as many women as I could. I stayed there 23 days because I'd got to know the women. They all, not all, but so many of them opened up to me, and they started feeling that the doctors here, the wardens and all these people, they don't understand us. You are from outside, you know that we are not really mad. You can help us get out. So this was the one thing that I had to face a lot, because I they put me in that pedestal, and they opened up. They talked about their lives. They talked about why they were brought in here, and so many. I mean, women. It was like so many of them, not mad, but in those days, I'm talking about the 80s, right? In those days when if a family member, especially husband or even brother, some uncle, anybody can come write on a paper in that hospital ka jo इसका दिमाग ठीक नहीं है. That's it. That was it. And she was taken in. Acha, so many times I asked the doctors, what is the symptoms that they see before they write that, come here and write that and bring her in? They said, वो खाना बनाना बंद कर दी है सबके लिए, आवाज दें तो जवाब नहीं देती है. I mean, such trivial reasons for being called mad. And of course, if a man has brought or is interested in another woman, wants to get rid of his wife, तो जा करके लिखा दो, and she'll be taken. तो उसको वापस लाने की जरूरत नहीं. She has a life inside there. My turning point happened first, of course, my journey through this 23 days. First was my observations, and अरे ये लोग तो सारी थोड़ी पागल हैं, मतलब सबको ट्रीटमेंट की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ये इनको इंजेक्शन देते हैं, फिर इलेक्ट्रिक शॉक्स देते हैं, सब कुछ होता है. All that was happening, which is good, which is fine. I mean, I'm not demeaning the method of treatment here, but I'm saying that gradually I started to, feel that, from what they really feel, and what I started to see the darker side of even the institutionalization of these women. Uska bhi ek dark side hai, which I just got to see because I was there. I wouldn't have ever known.
One of your poems actually says they're always waiting for a tomorrow.
Yes, they're all, the doctor who would take me on the rounds with him in the morning, I would see all of them just following him and saying, Doctor Saab, kab ghar se kab aayenge? Humko kab ghar bhejiyega? Kab aayenge? And he would say, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And I wrote this poem where I say, tomorrow is the closest word he can use for the end of time. Because nobody's coming.
Would you like to read that?
I like to read.
Even here, stand
I can
in line.
read the doctor.
Yeah. This is here, stand in line.
Here, stand in line, P. Once the winter is over, they will come for me, people from home. That's what you said, doctor, didn't you? Yes, tomorrow. Women clamor at his ears, prick his lobes with pledges. Each day he walks the wards, they ruffle, threaten and cajole, wheedle him with tears and curses, hound him through the entire length. When? He laughs on his lanky legs, the poor wretched thing, and hastens his pace, the rabble at his heels. Tomorrow, he winces. There's no other way. Tomorrow is the only word he knows closest to the end of time.
Here, stand in line. This is also.
This is a poem, yeah. You want to say something about this poem?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the way you described how the women used to be prepared to go to sleep in the night, and, a certain ritual.
So a certain routine which has to be followed, which I saw night after night, and this came out in this poem here. Here, stand in line, P. These are the attendants, the wardens, who are instructing the women. Here, stand in line, P, one at a time. Strip, fold your sari, drop it in the bin. Now walk back, not that way. Here, inside the lock, stupid. Lie. Prepare to take needles in your skin. Pretend, go on. Pretend the voices do not exist. Do you like the taste of metal? When they give electric shock, do you like the taste of metal? Get that expression off your face. She's only doing what women do with themselves. Squat and don't squirm. Strap yourself. You're next. Would you like blue marks on your skin or purple? Stop. Watch your wrists. They could bleed. Go on. Clutch that rubber in your teeth and lie still. I say still. Okay. On your marks. Let's go. It's time to play sanity, sanity.
you know, all of this has, there is no way you can escape what it does to you as a person, all 23 days, and you know, the things come out, and you describe that once you're out and your friends take you for a Christmas Eve thing, and I think that's what it actually did to you, you know, like if you'd like to, before I think we have to take some questions from the audience, if you know, so if you could talk about
the
that.
end of 23 days, my friends in Ranchi, Kunal and Ratna, this lovely couple that I normally would go and stay with, they thought that they were leaving me there for 3 days. Jab itna zyada ho gaya. So it was Christmas Eve, and they said, Deepti, enough is enough. You know, we've got to, you know, you've got to. अब तो नहीं तुमको इससे तो एक दिन और नहीं बस Christmas Eve है, you are coming home and we are, you know, we are celebrating, and what is all this, you know? And I'm saying no, wait, I can't, you know, like, because I'd got comfortable over there. I'd become very comfortable.
You used a very good phrase yesterday, madness is addictive.
Yeah. I'd become comfortable, and you know, I'd gotten so used to, because everybody inside the ward had this acute level of sensitivity, which was kind of rubbing off on me. I found a comfort zone in that. I mean, I'd started to find it was a bit scary. And I thought that, you know, madness is something which is kind of, it could be addictive, really. You could get comfortable here among people who are off their rocker. I mean, how is that possible? And because I have this whole habit of going through an experience and observing myself experiencing that. Because as an actor, I'm trained to do that. And also as a child, I had this tendency to do that. So, but I took that offer. Kunal said, I'm going to pick you up. Ratna and the kids are going to join us. We are going to the crocodile farm. So I said, okay, crocodile farm. अच्छा मतलब farm, मतलब दूर होगा, शहर के बीच में नहीं, party वाटी नहीं, no party. I said, I don't want to, I'm not ready to meet people. I hope this is just us, family, and that's it. And we'll go. I said, Kunal, take me for a long drive. You know, he said, yeah. That's what it is. It's really out of the city. So I'm driving, and you know, there, when we get there, Ratna and the kids come, we're all sitting around, and I'm rather quiet. There's nothing for me to say to them, really. I can't describe what I've gone through. I cannot, not immediately. And then I see that some cars have come and started parking themselves, you know, near where we left our car. And I said, what? There are people here. And Kunal said, no, just very, very close friends. They are all your big fans. They've seen Chashme Batur. And I said, oh no. He said, Deepti, just take it easy. They're very sweet people. तो वो सब बैठ गए, खाना निकला, ये वो. I was trying to be as normal as possible. And then, of course, when the food started being served, I mean, they are sitting with a film person, an actress. I like saying actress, I'm sorry, I don't like. So I like, So with an actress they are sitting, and they start talking, you know, when a chicken leg is being passed on, they pass it on, and then they make a kind of a lewd remark, you know, in reference of one actress. And the other guy who's taking the chicken leg, he says, "Ye kya de diya yaar?" I'm embarrassed to say that. Yeah, kisi actress ka naam likhe. And the other guy passes on, that guy passes on another fat leg and says, "Tu ye le le," and then he names another actress. I felt, I got up, I just walked, I just charged on the other side in the dark, and I puked. And at that moment, Kunal came following me. He says, Deepti, are you okay? Is it okay? You know, all that. I said, no, not okay. Not ready for this. Not ready for this. I told you I don't want people. I said, just take me back. I just want to go back. All I just wanted was कि मैं उस वार्ड के बाहर जो रेलिंग है वहाँ कहीं मैं बैठ जाऊँ और वहाँ एक एक इंसान जो है वो इस हद तक सेंसिटिव है, इतने ज़्यादा कि इसीलिए तो हैं वहाँ. Like, you know, I just, and I realized that this madness, as we, you know, blatantly call it, we should get used to saying another word for it. But this madness is actually addictive. You want to be there. And it took me a while to come out. And of course, my friends told me, Ratna and Kunal, this is dangerous, man. You are not going in. कोई homework नहीं, कुछ नहीं, जितना मिला है उसी में काम चलाओ. लिखो script, जो लिखना है करना है करो, but you're not going. We're not letting you get back there. And that was, those were revelations. But you know, that experience has stayed with me ever, from then on, ever since. I mean, it's still with me. I start to relive what I just read, and it starts to affect me, and I get, you know, हाँ होता है तो. God, so we've taken you all into a very heavy zone.
Yeah. If we can have a couple of questions around, you know. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, one thing I want to tell you before we get there. There are a lot of organizations into mental health and care, and who have, when they read that part of the book and they know about my work on the mentally ill, they said that, you know, we've had so many people work on this topic of the mentally ill, but nobody has given us, the first time we are seeing a point of view of the person who is mentally ill. From their perspective, you have gone into their shoes and you're telling us about them by being them, like, you know. So yeah, so here somebody had a question.
See, you're from a film industry,
Yeah.
and acting is so much a part of your life. But how that has come into your poetry? See, because that is something that we cannot expect from others. So when I look at your poems, I want to know that aspect of your